To welcome our guest.
Om Namah Shivaya. Om Amriteshwariyai Namaha. My humble pranams at the love-bounded lotus feet of our beloved Amma. My pranams to one and all gathered here. The pure vibration of love purifies people, and this helps them in their inner awakening and spiritual growth. With this beautiful quote of Amma, I stand before you to welcome Dr. Vidhya Balasubramanian. It gives me immense pleasure to introduce and welcome Dr. Vidhya Balasubramanian, Principal and Professor, Amrita School of Computing, Coimbatore, Amrita Vidyapeetham. Dr. Vidhya Balasubramanian is a professor at the Department of Computer Science and Engineering, Amrita School of Computing, Coimbatore. She joined Amrita in 2009 after completing her PhD in Computer Science from University of California, Irvine, USA. She is actively involved in teaching and research. Ma'am's area of interest are algorithm design, cyber physical systems, and edge computing. Madam met Amma in the year 2003, and this triggered her interest in spirituality. On the guidance of Swami Dhyanamritananda Puri, she took up the study of Gita in the year 2017. She completed the Gita home study by Swami Dayananda Saraswati and has also been attending the classes of Swami Dhyanamritananda on Gita till date. We are fortunate to have you here, ma'am, to share your wisdom with us. On behalf of Amrita family, I extend a warm welcome to ma'am. Welcome you, ma'am. Thank you. Om Namah Shivaya.
Shivaya.
Now I invite Srimati Muthulakshmi, Principal of Amrita Vidyalayam Dindigul, to felicitate the guest.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Over to ma'am.
Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Om Sadashiva Samarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmatacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam Jayamo Dhavanavakundhalavati Tejomayi Naishtiki Snigdhapanga Vilokini Mandasmita Srimukhi Vatsalyamritavarshini Sumadhuram Sankirtanalapini Shyamangi Madhusikta Suktim Amritanandatmikameshwari Om Amriteshwari Namaha Om Amriteshwari Namaha Om Amriteshwari Namaha. My prostrations at the lotus feet of our beloved Amma, on whose inspiration I am here to give this talk. I also salute my Gita Acharya, Dhyanamritananda Puri ji, for guiding me to take up this Gita study. Yeah, I was expecting that. We can help them further. So, so the topic given to me by Nandanji was significance of Gita in curriculum transaction. So when I looked at, first he said Gita in teaching. So I was like, okay, that is a doable topic. But then when he said curriculum transaction, my head went into a spin. Because, when you talk about curriculum and transaction and all that, and then you talk about Gita also in the same light, it becomes a bit confusing. So it took, I've been doing my evaluation of end semester papers. So parallelly, a lot of thoughts kept happening when when I was preparing this talk. So I hope I'll be able to add a few points that will be of use. So when we talk about the curriculum transaction, so Gita, whenever we talk about curriculum transaction, we talk about three aspects in curriculum transaction. One is the teacher, the next is the taught, that is the student, and then the subject of teaching. When we talk about Gita in curriculum transaction, it becomes much more simpler to talk about this curriculum transaction. So when we look at this picture, you look at an ideal student, Arjuna, who is accomplished archer, who knows the 64 art forms. He is sought by all the women of the country, and he is very intelligent. So he has so many names himself. Then you have the ideal teacher, that is Lord Krishna. He is the subject himself. So he not only knows the subject, but he is the essence of the subject that he is teaching. And finally, this is the curriculum. When we are talking about the curriculum, it is not an ordinary knowledge, it is the king of all knowledge. That is why Krishna says, Raja Vidya, Raja Guhyam, Pavitramidam Uttamam, Pratyakshaavagamam Dhamyam, Susukam Kartum Abhyayam. He says, it is the king of all knowledge, greatest secret, greatest purifier, self-illuminating, not opposed to dharma, very simple to gain, and imperishable. Now, a full lecture can be given on this particular verse itself. So I am not going to go into this. So I request you to look into it. It is a very beautiful sloka from Gita. But that is not the subject matter here. So unfortunately, I am not going to go into that. But you all might be wondering. So this is the ideal scenario. Now let's come to the real world. Here's a teacher, your students, and your curriculum. Now this is just a representation. If we think about it, you might be questioning, I am neither Krishna. So don't tell me I am Krishna. Yeah, we are all Krishna, but not yet. Nor are my students Arjunas. I can tell you stories about my students, correct? Nor is the curriculum the ultimate knowledge. So they give me a curriculum and I have to teach it. NCRT gives me the curriculum, or Tamil Nadu state government gives me a curriculum, or Kerala government gives me a curriculum. I am given the curriculum. How does this help me? You talk about Gita. I've been sitting here for 2 days listening to Gita. How does this help me? So I've been thinking about the same. So I teach classes. I'm also in the administration, so both points come to mind. So this transaction If this transaction were perfect, we would not be sitting here. And there wouldn't be a need to look further into the Gita to see how to make this transaction better. We have a lot of problems in this transaction. And that is why the question comes, are there answers in Gita to help us in this transaction? So the initial part of my talk is going to be very light-hearted, and it will also be very interactive. So I request all of you, I know it is 3 o'clock in the afternoon, your tea time is still waiting for you. And this is I take classes, and afternoon classes are the worst. And I know my students, the state of the students, but I know you are all teachers and Amrita Vidyalayam teachers, so you are more enthusiastic. I teach undergraduate students, college students, so you know. As I enter the class 2:55, I have a class usually. So 2:55, as I go, the fellow is checking whether I am coming. The moment, and since I'm also a principal, there will be some signatures that will be happening. So he's very happy if somebody comes for signature, 5 minutes late. And suddenly 2 students will enter the class because he has bunked the previous class. He's like, oh, principal's class, so we have to attend. But don't think like that. There are few who are just walking out. I'm like, this fellow is in my class, why is he walking out? He is like, okay, I have 70% attendance, now I can cut this class. So, then where are you going? Ma'am, no ma'am, that ma'am called, I will come ma'am. He will never come. So this is the reality. This is the transactional environment. The Kurukshetra that we have is this transactional environment is this set of students and our teachers, I'll come to that, and this curriculum. So unless we understand the problems of this transactional environment, what are the issues with this transactional environment, we will not be able to see how Gita helps us in this transactional environment. So I hope there is a mic to send around. So the first question, please take a look at these. You all listen to Gita, so I'm going to ask, what type of students do you think these are? Do you recognize? There are 3 pictures I've chosen purposefully. Huh? Little louder, please. Active. Okay, active. The first one is active. Okay, what is this fellow? It's a lazy fellow. Okay, that is the obvious one. Can you relate it to Gita, please? Okay, you can put the 3 gunas there. Anything else? There are 3 types of seekers. The jignasu, that's the jignasu. He is eager to learn. He is absorbed, ready to absorb. This fellow is your artharthi. The fellow on the, this fellow. They are eager to impress the friends. They are the smart fellows in the campus. They want to be the heroes. They are impressing the girls or impressing the boys. No, these students. No, the primary school teachers, please wait for me. I'm still talking about the little grown-up children. They are here only to gain that popularity. Learning will happen. This fellow, he's coming because his father will hit him if he doesn't get marks. Or the teacher will scold him if he doesn't do. He's like, Kadane, I'm just sitting here, okay, you are telling something, I have to listen. You know, we have this problem. The father wants the child to study computer science, get into a top computer company. The fellow wants to join mechanical engineering or wants to do commerce. He doesn't want to sit here. So he will sit in the last bench and he will sit there and he will look at you and why are you here? introduction. Now, can you say, are there more types of students here? Is this fixed? Is this like always the Jignasu is the Jignasu? No. At certain situations, the fellow is interested. Certain situations, as some of you said, is also based on the gunas. Sometimes the sattva is predominant, then he is ready to learn. Sometimes the tamas is predominant, he is ready to also learn, but he is in his world. And the rajas is predominant, he is disturbing the class. So this is the three types of students that we have. When Arjuna was listening to Krishna, he was the Jignasu. Krishna didn't have to say, hey, wake up, listen to me, sit straight, keep your phones aside. Krishna didn't have to say that. Here we have to say, keep your phones aside. I hope in your schools you don't have to tell that, but in college we have to say, keep your phone aside. Even then he has two phones. So he will have the phone over here, and then we have to develop all these X-ray vision and all. Oh, see, you are using the phone. So those types of problems are there. So how do we deal with this? That is the reality of the learner today. So I just want to take a look at this comic just to understand. I just inserted a few comics for you to just enjoy the situation. This is the reality of studying today. The student is clueless, completely clueless. He doesn't even know sarcasm, nor does he know what is there in the curriculum. That is how clued in many students are. So, when I take this subject, data structures, algorithms, these are the subjects that I take. And these subjects are very, you have to have a lot of problem solving, analytical thinking. So many students zone off. So we give some problems. So when I was talking about these different types of students, there are more categories of these students. Even the Jignasu can be a little over-enthusiastic. So I gave a problem to solve during the examination. It used a topic that I had taught for that particular 2 months. Unfortunately, I forgot one condition. And the condition made the problem very easy to solve. So which means that it moved to a topic that was taught in the previous 2 months. So the first student came. He is a very smart student. He is a 9-pointer. He studies very well. So he comes to me and he says, this is a very easy problem. How come you gave me an easy problem? We all thought that you will give tough problems. So first, imagination. So we imagined that you will give tough problems. So I looked at it. Oh, the condition is gone. Yes, you are right. This is a very easy problem. If you use sorting, it will be solved. Now 2 more students came. Now you are supposed to be asking me tough problem. But how come you asked an easy problem which was out of syllabus? I said, this is easy, so you can solve it. No, we thought you will give only tough problem, not you will not give easy problem. My grandfather used to say, if you go to a 10th standard class and ask what is 1 plus 1, he will not say 2. He will think, the teacher edavana oru podi vechirupanga. You know, that teacher is not straightforward. That teacher will not answer correct. We will not ask such straightforward, easy questions. That is not her nature. The same thing they do to me. I say, see, I am not there right in front of you to torture you. The question paper is right in front of you. You read the question paper and then do answer based on the question paper. Why are you imagining me here? So this is the nature of the student. The student not only has these different temperaments in class, there is also mental issues that prevent him from doing the right thing. There are students who come to me saying, while I was writing the exam, I forgot it. The moment I stepped out of the exam hall, all the answers came to me. I was like, why? Why were you tense? No, we thought you will ask tough question. When I stepped out only, I realized it was such an easy question. See, this is the nature of the student today. Now, teacher. Teachers also, there are different varieties. Please realize it need not be us. Right? We are all the Krishna type teachers. This is just general. Again, can you tell me the 3 types of teachers here? Who is the first? Who is this person? Anybody know who is this person? I hope Nedumaran sir knows. He is a physics professor. Very good. From where? He is from MIT. His name is Professor Walter Levin. If you go Google him, he's a very famous professor. He has a huge class set up and he conducts physics experiments in real time. So his entire class is attended by almost a huge gallery of students and his classes are amazing. You can learn physics concepts so beautifully. Now he is an ideal teacher who teaches for the sake of teaching because he has love for that subject. He invokes that love from that student. Then you have the second type of teacher. Now this is the teacher who is teaching because he has to teach. He is afraid of the management, he is afraid of life. So he is teaching. I have to get this many passes, this many failures. I should reduce the number of failures. So he is just teaching. His mind is not in the teaching, his mind is in the result of the teaching. And there is the third kind. These are the easygoing teachers. I will keep an easy test. I won't take class. Here's a video. Enjoy the video. The test is easy. I will keep easiest test. Everyone passes. Student is happy. I am happy. Management is happy. Student will not complain about me. And I don't have to do too much work. Now, there are shades in between again. For some subjects, we may become Walter Levin, and for some subjects, we may become this lazy teacher. But the reality, whatever category we are, is that today's learning and the environment is so competitive that we are burdened by this. You finish one examination, the next examination comes. You finish one bundle of correction, the next bundle of correction comes. So, to break the ice, examination, when we are correcting examinations, I don't know how much, we all see these jokes of how, students write these funny answers. So I had an experience. So I will tell you what was that experience. So there was this problem I had given in this examination. So this is called the dance problem. Okay? So you are going to a dance competition. There are N songs. You can dance for any of the songs. You can dance for so many songs. For any song, you have some score that you can get. Maybe the first song you can get a score of 5, but third song, it might be a difficult song, it might be a score of 50. Then the 10th song might be a score of 100, something like that. But then the 8th song might be just one score of 1. Now there is a condition. If I dance for the first song, I cannot dance for the next one song. If I dance for the second song, I cannot dance for the next 2 songs. Now don't ask me why that condition is. We want to test their skill level. To apply a algorithmic technique, this problem was framed. Now let's say you want some rest. Now, as a teacher, what do you expect? You expect the right answer. You expect some tangential answers. So there was one paper, I looked at it and I almost fell off the chair. So I was wondering what happened. And then my colleague was there and he looked at the answer and he also jumped out. And the entire hall was amused because we both were rolling with laughter. So, the student, his answer script. Who are you to say what dance I can dance to you or not dance? Who are you to say that? I have the willpower to dance for every dance. You cannot tell me what I can and what I cannot do. Okay, see, he is giving all philosophies to us in the exam paper. So he is saying, why not? I have that willpower. Even if I fall down, I will still dance and I will get the full marks. Now I told this to my students and they said, shouldn't you have given marks for the creativity, ma'am? I said, yeah. So I don't know what, I won't reveal what mark I gave, but it was fun. So I thought, okay, this is just one Brahaspati of that full 400 students. Few papers later, one more student. What did he say? You cannot say I cannot dance. But since you say I cannot dance, I will not keep quiet. After I dance for the first song, I will practice for the next 2 hours so that I will maximize my probability of getting the points. We were thinking, we are talking about algorithm design and you are talking about philosophy of dance and your, your philosophy of what we should ask and we shouldn't ask and so on and so forth. So that is the reality of students. And today with ChatGPT and other things, it is even worse. But we've talked about 2 aspects. The third is the curriculum. Can you tell me what is the key question that you get when you talk about curriculum? Anybody? That is the answer to how we are going to go forward. What is the key question that you ask when you say what is the curriculum? Anyone?
What to teach, when to teach, and how to teach.
Okay. Kind of answering the question, but I am looking at a little bit more fundamental question. Students would have asked this question. Why should I learn this? That is the first question. Why should I learn this subject? Why do you think, okay, I want now some interaction. I think many of you are a little sleepy now. So let's have an interaction. Why do you think? So you might be, please tell what subject you are teaching And can you tell me why should you teach that subject? Why should that student learn that subject? Please don't be shy. This is an interactive session. Only when we think the process of such interaction, this exercise, isn't for me to only do this exercise. I have spent 2 days and done this exercise. But it is also for you to do that exercise. That introspection and that mananam is important. And only when you do that introspection will our teaching be improved.
Rameshwaram ma'am, நான் தமிழ் டீச்சர். சின்ன ப்ரைமரி குழந்தைங்களுக்கு தான் எடுக்கிறேன். நான் எதுக்காக அவங்களுக்கு அந்த மொழி பாடம் எடுக்கிறேன் அப்படின்னா, அவங்களுக்கு அந்த பாடத்தில் ஒரு அந்த வயதுக்கு தக்கன அறிவு வளரணும், அதற்கான அவங்க அதை மொழியை வந்து பிழை இல்லாமல் கற்றுக்கணும் அப்படிங்கிறதுக்காக அந்த வயதுக்கு தக்கன நீங்கள் தெரிஞ்சுக்கணும், அதுக்காக அவங்களுக்கு சொல்லிக் கொடுக்குறேன்.
Very good.
Rameshwaram ma'am, I'm teaching English. So language is very important for the life. Though they have the skill, if they don't have language, they can't express. So that's why.
Do you tell your students that?
Yes, of course.
Very nice.
Rameshwaram ma'am, I teach English for higher secondary classes. I take my subject is unlike other subjects. I find it very interesting because I can incorporate values in it. I can teach stories, life lessons through that one subject.
Beautiful.
So students, obviously they enjoy, because unlike maths, physics and chemistry, they don't want to break their brains to understand.
Okay.
So it is a subject where we can teach values, where we can share our experiences so that they find it interesting, they become more interactive. So I feel through my subject, I can take certain values to students.
Very nice. I don't know if the science faculty are going to agree with that. Now science faculty, please. So they are saying that there is in language you can bring in values, and there is a purpose for language. Is there a purpose for science then? No purpose, huh?
Namashivaya, I'm handling EVS, and what I feel is it connects with the nature. My subject connects the children with the nature.
Very nice. So my question is, does the student understand? Why he or she is studying EVS, or he or she is studying Tamil? When I was a student, I don't know if I really studied Tamil. Oh, I'm going to learn values, I'm going to learn a language, and like, oh, I have to learn it because it is there in the curriculum. I have to finish it. If I don't get marks in that particular subject, then my overall ranking will go down. Therefore, I have to study it. Same for English. There are some subjects that I like. So I'm going to give you an example. So I had the reason for why we learn a subject. So when I was in 11th, there was a physics class. A good physics teacher. But the problems of this transaction is what I'm trying to come down to. So he was teaching the theory of relativity. And in the theory of relativity, he was proving E is equals to mc squared. We all know that. So he came down to the proof of that, and so he gave the proof. So he was using differential calculus to prove that. Now my 10th was in ICSE. We had not learned differential calculus. So he said dy by dx, and then he did something. I didn't understand why. So I asked the teacher, what is this dy by dx? So from my understanding, from the previous knowledge I had, this d is a variable, y is a variable. X is also a variable. So dy is d into y. So y is in d and d cancelled. Valid question. So I asked, why are you not cancelling d and d? What would your answer be? It should have been, this is an operator, and then some idea about the calculus should have been given. This prerequisite was not given. So he said, adella maths class la solli tharuvaanga ichuma iruma. And I was like, okay. Because we used to be scared of the teachers then, so I didn't want to probe further. And then he said, tomorrow there's a test and you have to write it. And anybody doesn't prove this, you will be punished. Now I'm back home and I'm crying. And like, I don't know how to mug. So you are expected to mug the proof without understanding what the proof is. This is curriculum transaction. So luckily my mother is a mathematics teacher. And seeing me cry, she said, what happened? I said, see, they are doing this proof, and then they are saying dy by dx and d are not getting answer. My mom jumped out. She was like, what? Then she said, did you ask the teacher? I said, the teacher said the maths teacher will teach, and tomorrow there's an examination. I don't know head or tail of it. Now how will I write this examination? And then my mother said, okay, wait. So she had to prepare, and she said she gave me all coffee, tea, snacks and all that, and then told, you wait, let me figure out this. And then she explained to me what this calculus is and what is this operator, and therefore why this is happening. Now till date, only after studying Gita, like I should have studied this theory of relativity a little bit more deeply. Till then I have not used this theory of relativity in my subjects. So the question that comes to any child naturally is, why do I need to study this? If I know why I need to study this, then my interest in that study becomes better. So this is a very key point. Now, I'm going to move to the curriculum transaction in Gita. So we would be thinking, where is Gita? So have I set the stage for the issues in curriculum, or have I missed some points? If you have some additional points, please feel free to tell. So I can move on to the Gita part. So this is the transaction. He's taking a very difficult subject and he is teaching Arjuna. So now I am going to go through this process of how Krishna taught Arjuna, how this pedagogical method that he employed in teaching Arjuna this Gita, and how we can take that, some lessons that we can take from that. The first point that we should remember when did Krishna teach Arjuna this knowledge? Can someone answer that? In the Kurukshetra war. So Arjuna goes there to the war. He looks at his enemies, and then immediately Krishna teaches him? Yes? No? How long does Arjuna and Krishna know each other? What do you think? For a long time. They were friends. From childhood they were friends. Why didn't Krishna teach this to Arjuna? There was a need only during the wartime. Correct? So, there are 2 points that you have to remember. I will come to the first point. First point of a teacher is you should be a friend of the student. The teacher should be able to earn the trust of the student, and if the teacher earns the trust of the student will learn. Arjuna and Krishna were very good friends. Arjuna trusted Krishna to the extent that he did not want the army of Krishna, he wanted Krishna alone. He trusted Krishna. Krishna was a very good friend of Arjuna. So Arjuna knew whatever Krishna says is for my good. The good thing about school teaching is you have children who come very young. So they look up to the teachers. So it is easier to gain the trust. As we go to the higher classes, that trust reduces. When they come to college, it becomes very less. But still, if we can become a friend, we can lend a hearing ear, then that teacher transforms into a friend and becomes a trusted partner in this transaction. It is important to become a trusted partner. That is the first point. But the second point is, every student is receptive for knowledge at some time. As we said, Krishna did not teach Arjuna Gita till Arjuna was receptive. Even in the first chapter, Arjuna says all the problems that he has. He says, my neighbor, my cousins are there, my teachers are there, my grandfathers are there. How can I kill them? In the second chapter, at some point, Arjuna says, it is impossible for me to find a way to overcome my sorrow. Even if I go to heavens, I do not know if I will find a way to overcome this sorrow. Therefore, I surrender to you. Please accept me as your disciple. At that point, Krishna realizes that he is ready to receive this knowledge. Now, again, this contradiction comes. The student is not Arjuna. We cannot create a Kurukshetra here. So what do you mean by receptive to knowledge? We can create situations, spark that need, spark that curiosity. So I'd like to tell some examples. So I have some students in a class. You will have these toppers and you will also have these students who are not interested in that subject. So there were these many students, 5 or 6 students from one class. They graduated in 2016. That batch, there were 5 or 6 students who were very interested in robotics. They used to learn robotics on their own. They used to go to different competitions and they used to win competitions also. Now these students wanted to build a quadcopter. I hope all of you have heard of a quadcopter. It's a drone. So they wanted to build a drone. So they came to me. I had some fund at that time. I was doing some research projects, so I had some fund. So I said, okay, why not? Let's build a quadcopter. So these students were very good. There were 3 9-pointers. One who was barely scraping. So he was passing the courses, but not with a very high grade and all that. He was interested in physics and ISRO, but somehow he came into computer science. So he was not interested in this. Then there was this student who would fail. He had every year, he had 2 arrears. Now, they were designing a quadcopter. They were designing both ground robots and quadcopter. So they were calculating the kinematics of the quadcopter. And Do you know which was the student who used to explain to me the mathematics of this kinematics? The one who was failing. The one who was failing was actually coming and explaining the fundamentals of this. He was explaining the math behind the entire quadcopter motion. And he wanted to check if I could help with coming up with some. So they came up with ideas and I had to confirm whether those ideas were right. The other three could not explain at that level, but the student could. What was the reason? He had an interest. That interest was, I want to build a quadcopter. So when I am building a quadcopter, I will automatically learn what I need to learn. So is it possible for us to involve our students in such projects? Give them, instead of starting with, when we go to the class, we look at the curriculum and then we say, oh, we start with this curriculum. If I were to teach robotics, we go to the class and say, okay, there are so many degrees of freedom, the robot moves like this, the robot has these components, they have these sensors, and so on and so forth. And then this is the theory behind it, and this is how you have to program it. The student is not interested. Make them build the robot and then teach them the fundamentals required as and when the robot is being built, the student is interested. So can we spark that curiosity in the student in every subject? That is what each of us have to think. If we are talking about biology, till date, I learned a lot of biology, but why did I learn it? But if I knew that if I learn about this particular system, this will help me maintain my health, I will learn more in a more interested manner. Pythagoras theorem, we teach the theorem. You ask a student to come from one block to another block. Intuitively, the fellow will take the hypotenuse. Correct? You ask him, how did you come? He'll say, I came. See, if you tell him, hey, you calculated the hypotenuse, dude. But we do not do that. Because we are just eager to complete the portion. That curiosity has to be sparked in every student. That curiosity is there in every student. The Arjuna movement is there in every student. We don't have to create a Kurukshetra for the student. But that Arjuna movement can be created not in a negative way, but in a positive way. Can we create that Arjuna movement? So I am not going to give answers here, I am going to ask questions. It is for each of us to think if that is possible. So when we have a curriculum, it is not good if the physics teacher comes and says, hey, the maths teacher will teach it. And then the maths teacher will say, no, not yet, I will teach only 1 month later, you figure it out. That doesn't work. So at the end of the day, the theory of relativity is gone. After the exam is over, I have forgotten it. That is how 90% of this transaction goes. Because there is no alignment to the need. The student does not understand the need for why he studies, why he or she studies. And as we see when they come to our college, you will see that it becomes worse. Because the need is even worse because it is a parent's need that is being imposed on the child, not the child's need. So why am I studying what I am studying? As teachers, can we, ignite this spark? That is the first step. Please remember that every student has that energy. So sattva, rajas and tamas is there in all of us. So every student will have that sattva to be able to receive that knowledge. But it is up to us to recognize that. So So when I go back to Krishna, the second point is that Krishna was an expert in the subject. Agree? Because he was the subject also. He not only taught the subject, he was the subject. So Krishna was an expert in the subject. A teacher should be an expert in the subject that they are teaching. If we are not experts in the subject, then it is difficult to attract the attention of the student. But with it, I'd like to add some points over here. Being an expert doesn't mean knowing information. Okay? Information is available, but experience is not available. So let me give you an anecdote. Krishna, before I go there, Krishna taught about the ultimate reality. But Krishna also showed the steps to attain the ultimate reality, but he also gave a experience to Arjuna. In the 11th chapter, he is giving that experience. That experience is important. Now, let me give an anecdote. So when I was in 10th, I used to be interested in cooking. There was a lot of time after my ICSE examination. So my grandmother taught me cooking. Okay. So you all know Vatta Kolambu? Yes. So my grandmother taught me how to make Vatta Kolambu. So the way she taught was no measurement and all. She said, oh, take this much of, she said how to measure salt, sambar powder and the tamarind, such that the, all three will, the proportions are correct. And then she said when I should remove it from the heat, how long I should heat it, all that she showed. And she gave her very, very minute experiences. If it boils like this, she calls it vattapodi. If it boils like this, it is very bad. It has to boil, in a rounded way. I'm not able to express it. So it has to emulsify nicely. And finally, the oil should come on top. I'll tell you two things. So there are fun things happen here. So oil should come on top. So I saw it. I understood what this oil coming to top means. Because it just doesn't mean oil coming to top. I understood it and what the taste should be. It has to have a spice. It has to be, should be some sourness. There should be some sweetness. There should be, it should be a rounded flavor, correct? Now my mother makes this Vatta Kolambu. Earlier, now she makes very good Vatta Kolambu. Earlier, when she used to be involved with the schools, she used to make hurried Vatta Kolambu. Now she'll say, oh, my Vatta Kolambu is very good. She'll tell everybody, my Vatta Kolambu is very good. So I came back from US and I said, no, your Vatta Kolambu is not good. She used to get annoyed. It's nice only. I said, you are not boiling it correctly. You are doing it very fast. She said, no, I am doing it enough. I said, no. Then I said, I will show you, wait. Then she was protesting. She was like, I cooked for 40 years. You're coming now and you're telling me how to cook. I was like, see, wait, you cooked for 40 years. Your mother cooked for so many more years. I learned from your mother, so just wait. And see this. So I showed her, this is how it should be done. Now you see the taste difference. She tasted. She couldn't accept, but she had to accept. Again, the credit goes to my grandmother, not me. So it taste came out very well. So now she says, hey, you know what? I boiled it for half an hour. Okay, you're happy. The difference was she also taught me how to make Vatta Kolambu. She gave me the knowledge, but she didn't show me the experience. My grandmother could bring that experience to the fore. My mother was a cook, but my grandmother was the cook. Only she could bring that experience and she could transmit that experience. Unfortunately, my mother couldn't transmit that experience. So that difference is in your experience, in the expertise. You will be able to transmit that experience. Now, I will show you how I failed miserably in transmitting this. To my mother, I could show this experience because I could take her to the kitchen and show it. So when I was in US, my friend was in Japan. So he said, okay, we used to chat. In those days, it was this Yahoo chat. So my friend said, I want to make vata kolambu. So I said, I know how to make vata kolambu. I will give you the recipe. He said, see, I will do step by step as you tell me. And so I said, okay. I gave him the initial steps. So I take oil, take the spices, put it in the oil. I didn't realize this fellow will do it as and when he is chatting with me. So he put the masala into the oil and then came back. He said, I put it. And I said, okay. Then he said, oh, it is all burnt. I said, don't do it. You just wait. Then he did all that. Then I said, you pour water, you put the vegetables, and when you fry the onions, then you pour the water. And then boil it till the oil comes to the top. Now I am looking at that emulsification process and the oil coming to the top. This fellow poured water. He said, hey, I poured water, oil came to the top. So done. Now I am giving the same recipe only. But the transaction in curriculum is not happening. The taste is not coming out. I said, and he said, it tastes very bad. It doesn't look boiled at all. I said, wait, you have to boil for some time. That emulsification is different from this oil coming. Every oil will come on top when you pour water. That is not what I am talking about. But he didn't understand. He said, okay, I give up. So if you see this curriculum transaction is important. Now, when I was doing this talk, preparing this talk, I went to ChatGPT. Today, everybody goes to ChatGPT because we are like, all this AI will have information. So I said, okay, what the topic did, and then he give me, okay, the Gita in curriculum transaction. So I entered it, give me points to it. It went on to some philosophy, some psychology, educational psychology. I didn't understand head or tail of it. So then I said, okay, I have to do the hard work. If you realize this, AI can only help us when we ask some specific questions, but it cannot do the job for us. Half the information is available, but it is not synthesized. You can look at the recipe is available, but unless your grandmother shows it to you and shows that you understand the texture, understand that fragrance, you will not be able to get that perfect sambar. So that requires that expertise of the teacher. So you are very important, but your expertise is not just the content that you have, but that experience that you can translate to that particular student. When you are solving a problem, oh, this is a very small trick. Why don't you apply this? But that student will not know the trick, but you know the trick. Oh, I have to memorize these verses. I have to memorize these many pasaram in Tamil. No. There's a very simple trick to do this that you only will know. The student will not know. So that is the requirement of a teacher, and what Krishna shows us is that experience has to be translated. He's showing how we can translate that experience. So this is Amma's quote. Amma says, attending a lecture on the theory of cooking will not remove hunger. Knowledge alone is not enough. To practice what we grasp intellectually is more important. So as I was seeing this quote, then I remembered my Vata Kolambu incident. So the curriculum of Gita has 18 chapters. If you see how Krishna has ordered these chapters, is very beautiful. The second chapter gives you the overview of the knowledge. But you will see that Krishna does not have a fixed curriculum. It doesn't say, okay, chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3, then I will fix, and then I will go teach this. No. There are certain chapters that evolve based on Arjuna's questions. So Third chapter itself evolves based on Arjuna's question. Arjuna says, why are you making me do all this if I can go and take sannyasa? Then Krishna is forced to talk about karma yoga. Then he is forced to say, okay, there is some logical aspect to karma yoga. Then he talks about jnana karma sannyasa yoga and karma sannyasa yoga. So he talks about those aspects of karma yoga so that to make it complete. Then he comes back to the core. He doesn't drop the core. Then he brings in practical aspects. In Dhyana Yoga, he talks about how to achieve this. Then he talks about he brings in different aspects into his curriculum. He has a flexible curriculum. He is moving according to the student. He is not saying, I will talk only what I want to teach. The student has to just listen to me. He has a flexible lesson plan. And he is open to questions. This is a very important point. When Arjuna asks certain questions, like, no, that is not the question. He is not saying, hey, why do you ask these questions? In fourth question, he asks, I have seen you, I have grown up with you. You are saying, I taught this to Vivaswan. How can you say that? So he doesn't get angry. You are judging my knowledge. He didn't say that. He said, no, both of us were there from that time. You forgotten, I have not forgotten. So that knowledge, that he is very confident in his knowledge, that he is encouraging these questions. You will see that Arjuna is asking these questions so many times, in so many different ways. It will be difficult to go through those details. If you are interested in Gita, I would request you to take a look at these. The questions that are there are very beautiful. And those questions lead to the curriculum itself. A very beautiful thing that Krishna does. We have a curriculum, we have an assessment, we give that to the student. We have 60 students, everyone gets the same assessment, everyone gets the same curriculum, everyone gets the same methodology. Krishna does not do that. If you see in chapter 12, he customizes it to different types of the reader. So he says, in 12th chapter, how many of you have seen the 12th chapter? So there is a verse, Mayyeva mana adatsva mayi buddhim niveshaya. Keep your mind firmly on me, mind and intellect firmly on me. That is the highest ideal. Always. But then there are these students who will not be able to do that. So he says, if you cannot do that, ata chittam samagatum na shaknosi maistiram abhyasa yogena thata mam ichchaptum dhananjaya. So you say you do yoga of practice. You can do meditation, you can do chanting, you can do puja, you can do all of that. I said, no, I'm very lazy. I can't get up in the morning and do Lalita Sahasranama. And then I have to do this. I forget to chant my mantra. Then meditation, whenever I sit, I feel sleepy. I said, okay, no problem. Do your actions as an offering to me. That is also not, I don't understand that. You will get a result of your action. You can offer that result of that action. So for every level of the student, he is giving a path to reach that culmination of knowledge. What is it that he wants the student to achieve? You can achieve by step 1, 2, 3, 4 or all the steps. You can achieve it in 1 day, 2 days, 5 days, 10 days, whatever it is. I will give you the option. Can we create these processes for students, understanding that they are at different levels? We have our restrictions, but given that flexibility for the student to reach the same level at his or her own pace, the student will be able to reach there. But unfortunately, so many students are given, all the students are given the same goal, same modalities, that many students get left behind. Because they are left behind, we are not able to do anything. Then it becomes a vicious cycle. So this is something that we can learn from Krishna. Can we customize and give based on the understanding of the student? Do we understand the learner? If we understand the level of the learner, we will be able to customize and teach accordingly. He employed a variety of pedagogical methods. One, he used a lot of metaphors and examples, so I would like to everyone to wake up again. Can you give me examples of the metaphors in Gita? Anyone? In second chapter, he says, Vasamsi jirnani yata vihaya, navani grihnati naroparani, tata sharirani vihaya jirnani, anyati samyati navani dehe. Just as we change the shirt, right? The jiva changes the body. I am simplifying. This is one example. In second chapter itself, he says, like a tortoise moves his head back into the shell, we should be able to control our senses. We should be able to pull back our senses. So he uses examples in different points to make the point clear to the student. Same way, we should be able to connect our subject to real life examples. Employing real life examples will help in this process. Even examples he gives in the 10th chapter. Arjuna says, can you tell me what are your vibhuti? What is your vibhuti? Can you give me examples? He says, yes. You look at a mountain, you look at Himalayas. Of all the mountains, I am the Himalayas. Of all the water bodies, I am the ocean. So wherever you see greatness, you see me. So he gives examples. He does analytical reasoning, very beautiful analytical reasoning. He gives connections. In the second chapter, he says there is a beautiful connection. Dhyayato vishayam pumsaha sangatse shobhajayate. Sangat sanjayate kamaha kama krodho vijayate. Krodhat bhavati sammohaha sammohat smriti vibhramaha smriti bhramshat buddhinashaha buddhinashor pranashyati. When I come in contact with the object, I develop an attachment, connection. And because of that attachment, there is a desire. Because of a desire, if the desire does not get satisfied, anger comes. When anger comes, my mind gets disturbed. I lose my judgment. When I lose my judgment, my memory becomes bewildered. When that happens, buddhinashaha, I destroy myself. Beautifully, he is connecting it. Logically, sequentially connecting it. So he is using that analytical reasoning. Question answers, we saw. He also employs contradiction. Why contradiction is a very important point. When you contradict, it goes into your head. For instance, Can anyone tell where this one major contradiction in the Gita is? In chapter 9. Maya tadamidam sarvam jagadavyakta murtina mastani sarva bhutani nachaham tesha vastita. I pervade everything. They are in me, that is the beings are in me. I am not in them. Immediately in the next verse he says, Nachamastani bhutani. They are also not in me. Now if you see any student who is learning this, why he is telling, I am in them, they are in me, I am not in them. Then you are saying they are also not in me. What is this, all this confusion? He is confusing me a lot. I remember when I studied this, I bugged Dhyanji so much. Why this is not right? I went to the ocean, wave. How can you say the ocean and wave are same, different? I was asking questions, and then he said, now it is up to you to study. Figure it out. What happened? The learning is happening because of this contradiction. There is no contradiction, but he is just introducing a seeming contradiction to make the student think. Automatically that learning happens because this is also a pedagogical method. The mind has started working. Oh, you're telling something. No, it shouldn't be right. But then it also makes sense. So he puts these, Krishna in his entire Gita creates these very interesting areas where the student is forced to think, forced to get bewildered. But by that thinking, he gets the clarity. Can we also, employ these methods in our teaching that will ignite the thought process of the student? In physics, a lot of things are possible, physics and mathematics. So, I think I'm coming close to the end of this thing. So, teaching is difficult. We have the student, we have the curriculum, we have our own selves, and we have all the requirements. We do not have control over the curriculum, the student interest, etc. But we can enjoy what we do. We can invoke that passion for teaching. That passion transmits to the student. I call it the passionate yet dispassionate teacher. Because I might teach the student very passionately. But when I'm looking at the question paper, when the end semester paper, all that passion has gone. You know what happens now today in this lecture? I've given so many. The Bhatta incident will be in mind. Gita will be forgotten. Right? In the examination, similarly, in class algorithms, I would be using some examples just to make the fellow interested. He will write that in the answer. I'll be like, okay, you listen, but not to the right thing. The ultimate concept that I want you to listen to, that you have forgotten. But I'll say, like you have used the Vattakorambu example, you can solve the problem in this way. I didn't do that. But okay, you listen to something that we have no control over it. But can we be happy about doing this? There will be some who are passionate about it. There will be some who will really be interested. At the end of the day, life keeps going. If you ask about the ultimate question, what is true is that present moment. As a teacher also, it is true. This is the present moment that we have. What is the purpose of life? Amma says, the Gita helps us to understand how to experience peace and happiness right here, right now. It helps us to realize our true self. So we cannot teach hoping that the student will ace it, or student will understand it, or the management will recognize it. If all those are excellent goals in mind, but they may be realized, not be realized. What is real is only that moment. So instead of teaching for the purpose of obtaining joy, we need to be able to teach with joy. The joy should be the basis of our teaching. And if that joy is there in our teaching, I believe we will be able to become better teachers. So with that, I pray to Amma that all of us are joyful teachers and passionate teachers. Thank you so much for the opportunity. Any questions? Maybe one or two questions. I think just one or two questions. Okay, no questions then. Yes, sir. Yes.
Experiential learning.
Experiential learning. Yes. So Krishna says, I am the basis for everything. Mastani, Sarva Bhutani, everything is in me. Right? So Arjuna asks, can you show me? I still do not understand it. Can you show me? And that is when Krishna shows his Vishwarupa Darshana. He shows his Vishwarupa Darshana. Vishwarupa Darshana means he is showing that the entire universe, the creation, is extension of himself. All the eyes are his, all the arms are his, all the legs are his, all the stomachs are his. Everything is his. It is not a scary vision. If all of you sitting over here, your eyes, your ears, these are all extension of Krishna. That is, Krishna is acting through each of us. But he is giving a visual representation that Arjuna sees that every being is embodied in Krishna. The beginning, the end, the creation, the destruction. Everything arises from Krishna, everything goes back into Krishna, and everything exists in Krishna. Universes arise, universes dissolve. And he also shows that the entire Kaurava army, they are going inside Krishna and they are crushed by Krishna. So he is showing this glimpse of what it means to say that thou art, the Tattvamasi, that the principle of Brahman, where the Prakriti and Purusha, the Purusha is the ultimate, it is the basis for the Prakriti. This arises from that Brahman. He is showing that in an example. So maybe like a virtual reality simulation. He is showing a virtual reality. I'm unable to explain that very clearly. But it's a virtual reality simulation. You have to read that chapter to understand it. But that is the experiential learning that he gives. And so Arjuna looks at it and says, Arjuna is thinking of himself. He thinks he is the doer. Krishna shows him that, no, you are not the doer. You are just an instrument at my hand. So that is what Arjuna understands. So we are all instruments in the hand of the Paramatman. We are all instruments of Amma. So understanding that, if you say even our Amrita is a kind of a Vishwarupa only. You don't, if we go a little bit into it, things happen, we think that we are doing it, it doesn't happen that way. It just keeps happening, so many things happen. And things get done. So she operates through each one of us. Did that? Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. We hope today's session has sparked new ideas and perspectives for everyone.